I think games are made this way. And how they're really made is you need to be able to adjust to a team's way of working and the creative leadership's way of making quality. And this is something that I think we did really well at Arrowhead. I was so ingrained with creative leadership there. I mean, Johan and Emil, those guys were some of my best friends. Like, we did everything together. And when we were just hanging out, we'd be talking about making games and making Helldivers and how to make it better and how to make the studio better.
Welcome to Main Quest, a show that explores the magic behind video games. This season, we are exploring Helldivers 2, an exciting and explosive video game that took the entire video game industry by storm. So sit back, relax, as we talk to the people who helped bring this video game to life. This is Main Quest with Eddie Barco. Welcome to Main Quest. Episode 1, this is the first episode of Main Quest. We're launching the show. It's a show that explores the magic behind video games and just how some of the iconic video games were made. And we're focusing this first season on one of my current favorite games, Helldivers 2. It's one of the ones that I think completely has just blown everything out of the water, and it's just done everything right. And I wanted to bring together some of the key people that made that happen. And I decided to look back at my history at some party photos, and I was just like, is there somebody in these parties that I know that might have worked at Helldivers 2? And turns out that I do. Mr. Evan Nickel, welcome to the show.
That's crazy. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Mr. Evan has worked on Helldivers 2. You have an extensive history working in gaming. But before we dive into any of that, I just kind of want to dive into a little bit on like who you are and how you got into gaming a little bit. And so I think a good icebreaker question would be, what was the first video game you ever played?
So honestly, people ask me this all the time, right? Like, it seems like something that I should remember, like the very first. I think I remember playing like 2 or 3 games kind of all around the same time.
Okay.
That it really resonated with me. And I think the first one, I think this is the first one I played, was Sonic and Knuckles 3. You stick the cartridges together and you were good to go.
Wait, I never played that. What was that? So you just...
Yeah, there was Sonic 3 and then there was Sonic and Knuckles. And it was 6 levels each, but when you put them together, you could play all 12, like, from start to finish.
Oh,
shoot. Super cool. Like... And I've played the hell out of that game. And it was kind of the first thing that inspired me with like the art and the feeling of video games. But shortly after that, I started playing StarCraft 2. And that was the first game that inspired me to make games because it had a very easy to use mod like creator. And you could just make your own levels. And it was like basic programming with like checkboxes and stuff like that. It was super cool. And I just like kind of made my own very shitty like versions of games that I thought of, or whatever, how it inspired me at the time. But yeah, those are the first 2 that I really remember.
Do you remember any of the mods that you made, like anything specific?
I think I made like a couple that were actually like okay, my friend and I played them, but the one I remember was just total garbage, like, and it was called Trick or Treat on Halloween night because I loved Halloween at the time. And it was like you went from like different base, and you got like, a certain amount of like resources, and that was your candy. And like there wasn't really a goal. You didn't really do anything interesting. It was kind of just like a vibe thing for me. And like I was the only one who enjoyed it.
I mean, he clearly liked Halloween based on the
Yeah, Halloween was a big thing for me. Yeah.
Protoss.
I was Protoss mostly. Yeah.
First thing.
Exactly. First thing. I'm popping up so many turrets.
Wait, what is that? Like, was it a tower defense type of game?
Yeah, it's an RTS. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I actually never played. That's why, to me, I'm like, I always hear so much about StarCraft, and I've never actually played it.
Yeah, honestly, StarCraft was a lot of we took a lot of inspiration from that in Helldivers 2, especially the audio design.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the audio design is one of those things that completely has blown everybody away out of that game. And so I guess I'm curious on that note, when it comes to game design, I imagine a lot of it has to be inspired by previous games or things that you probably have experienced in life. And your history, it's so just fascinating to me because you mentioned your first games. One of the things that we saw about you originally was that you were really into science.
Yeah.
Growing up, right?
Yeah,
So I mean, explains with
bit.
StarCraft a little bit. So I think I want to know specifically like how it is that you went from like science to then wanting to do video games. Or was video games always a plan? Because you mentioned you did mods, so I'm wondering what that was.
It's interesting, man. Like, I was a kid that really, really liked engineering, but I was really an artist at heart. And the problem with that was I wanted to create all of these cool things, and I wanted to show this like images that I had in my head. I did graphic design, I did video editing, like in high school, like, and what I realized was can't illustrate for the life of me. I can't draw anything. I can't make any cool art myself, but I could use computers to do it for me as a tool to like get these cool images that I had onto something that it was like visually tangible. So I taught myself like, all the Adobe software, After Effects, InDesign, Photoshop. And that was my intro to doing like t-shirt design. I did glass blowing in high school too. That was like a really cool, like thought to like physical form art that I really enjoyed. Video editing was kind of my first like intro into visual effects, which was also really interesting because I was like, oh, I can make things look a way that's not. There's that magic of it. Video games were just something I always enjoyed, and I enjoyed the creative process of making them. I didn't even remember this when I was in college, but I took a summer camp like growing up of just like, video game modding and like basic video game creation using a software called Multimedia Fusion. I think it was a European one. And I just made a bunch of my games.
Actually, it sounds really familiar.
I made a bunch of like arcade games for my friends. We all really enjoyed playing them. They were all high score games, like, and then I went to college and it was all about, I got in as an engineer at California Polytechnic State University in San Luis Obispo. Awesome school, by the way. I love that place. It was the best time of my life.
Beautiful area, too.
Incredible, right?
You've never been to San Luis Obispo. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. And I still have all my best friends from that. Like, that was amazing. But yeah, I got in as an engineer and I immediately realized, oh shit, you have to do a lot of math and science and engineering. And nobody told me for some reason. I took like an aptitude test one day. And it was like, you'd be good at engineer. I'm like, okay, this is a good engineering school. I should probably do that. And like first quarter in, I'm like, this is not right, man. Like I can do math. I'm good at it. Like I can do engineering, but I didn't like any of it. Like I was really an artist. I wanted to create stuff. And they just started a new major called Liberal Arts and Engineering Studies.
Ooh.
And it was a combination of both the liberal arts school and the engineering school. You take a concentration in both, you combine them together, and then you make something that is kind of what I was hoping to be after. And I thought, cool, I could do visual effects, I could do computer graphics, I can learn computer programming and on the graphic side, and then I can use my artistic skills to actually pull those things together. And DreamWorks recruited heavily out of Cal Poly.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, cool, maybe I'll just do DreamWorks. Like, this is really cool. I could do 3D modeling. I was teaching myself Maya at the time and other 3D modeling softwares.
Maya was new back then, right?
Yeah, it was pretty new. Yeah, and there wasn't a good way to learn it either. Like, my school didn't offer any classes. Like, I was like constructing my own study out of this brand new major. And I remember like so many things clicked on me in weird ways. I just, I had an internship every summer just applying for stuff. Boom, 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 boom. However I can get into, whatever industry that allowed me to do this. And I remember there was a big presentation from someone at DreamWorks, and they're like, look at all this cool stuff that we're making. And here's someone we just hired from Turkey as a 3D modeler. And he put up his model. And I was like, holy crap, I would never be able to create this in a million years. These people are so much better at art than I am. There's no fucking way.
What was the design? Like, what were you seeing?
I remember it was like a huge monster with a goblin riding its back, and it was like in this really cool pose.
Damn.
And I was just like, there's no way. Like, I'm a good artist. Like, I can create cool art. I'm a good programmer. I can make games and I can program. Like, my very first program I ever made in my computer science 101 class was a video game. And I was the only one that did that the whole class. And my teacher was so impressed. But like, I wasn't great at either of those things. Like, and I went to school with people that were truly great at them. I was not one of them. I was just good at a lot of things.
Well, I feel like so that's interesting point, because I feel like a little bit of my own backstory. So I didn't do engineering in school, but I did music. And I feel like in music, you get that a lot, where you get those prodigies. Yeah. You get the people who are transplants. They come from other countries or whatever, and they're just beyond this world. They're just incredible at what they do. It almost make you feel like, why am I even playing music in a sense? Yeah. And so I guess the question I have there is, was there a type of mentor, or maybe you just had this drive yourself, but to just stay in that game? Because it sounds like you went straight from Cal Poly to DreamWorks, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
No, I went from Cal Poly straight to my first job in games after an internship.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like what kept you motivated though? Because you had all these people around you who were good, and clearly you loved it, right? So I'm wondering if it's just the love of it that you were like, this is just what I want to explore.
It was towards the end of my college career that I was kind of starting to realize this. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm still like endlessly motivated to do this. Like, I love this. I'm passionate about it. And the last couple classes I took in college were independent study classes because I was like, I need to be able to teach myself skills because you won't teach them for me. So that's when I was teaching myself Maya. That's when I did a really cool animation with light painting and stop motion. I'm still kind of proud of that one. I think it holds up. Like,
Do you have it on YouTube or anything?
yeah, it's still on YouTube.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Lost and Found.
Lost and Found.
Good luck finding it. Like,
Like if you typed in Lost and Found
painting,
by Evan.
like, yeah, maybe Evan Nickel would pull it up. Yeah, I was still kind of proud of that one. But
Note to self is you got to have like a little portfolio just with all this stuff that you made.
Yeah, right,
Just to have it.
sometimes I think of it. Like,
I just want to see if Andrew can find it because I find it so fascinating to find like is it this?
yeah, that's it. That's crazy.
I want to see. Maybe even give a little commentary on like what you were thinking about as you saw it.
This took like 400 hours to make.
No way.
Yeah. I was learning it at the same time, you know. I had a DSLR camera and I was like, I'm just going to try some cool shit. I was staying up till like 4 or 5 in the morning when there weren't any cars around because the camera was taking in so much light. So it needed to be really dark.
Was that your friend? Or was that you?
That was me. I just like painted the outline of myself, like, and I go over and I hit the shutter.
Didn't you do this in college too, Tommy? Like mess around with like the lighting stuff like this? I love the lights and I love the colors that you chose.
Yeah, thanks.
That specific angle too.
Yeah, I made this little story about this like alien guy and this guy chasing him. I didn't really know, you know, like I didn't think of the story at all. I just kind of started and I was like, maybe I can pull this together at the end. Like, yeah, I did this for an independent study class and it took way more hours than they wanted me to, but I really got a lot out of this. Like it really made me realize what it takes to make something creative and what it takes to make something good.
Ah, okay.
Like, you know, I taught myself After Effects. That's how I did all this like particle effects and stuff like that. Like, this was super fun.
So what does it take to make something good then?
I'll
in your
talk a lot
opinion?
about that when it comes to making Helldivers good. Like, what does it take? Time, iteration, and absolute unrelenting drive.
You know
Like,
what? On that note, because I think you just hit it right there, because it, to me, when I see this, I see just a lot of artistic effort. I see you constantly trying to do different things really, really well. And then doing stuff like this makes you very passionate about exploring creativity for the sake of it and making it really, really good.
That's how to answer their last question was I did stuff like this and I was like, I just love this. Like, and I can do this. I can combine these things in a way because a lot of people were good at engineering or they were really good at art, but very few people were good at both of them. It's kind of a right brain, left brain thing, right? Like people that thought a certain way, they were really good at thinking it that way, but I was really good at managing both these things and driving them together. Like, you know, when I realized that I wasn't ever going to be an incredible programmer, an incredible artist, I was like, I still think I can do both these things, like in technical art or something that in the middle where fewer people can. And maybe that'll make me some money. Maybe that'll get me doing something cool. And I applied to, I think, 100 jobs like that summer, you know, resume. I'd already had a couple internships in Hollywood and stuff like that. And I was like, fucking hated that. Like, you know, I had a boss who was pretty much the embodiment of Ari Gold. Like, you know,
Oh boy.
I had some stories about that one. Like, but yeah, I think all those internships kind of added up to that internship I got after my 4th year of college with Warner Brothers and their video game publishing department. I didn't even know it was a video game job when I applied.
Really?
I just applied with so many resumes. I was like, cool, Warner Brothers, great. Like, here's this one, Paramount, great. And then they called me back. Like, hey, you know, we want to interview you. I'm like, cool. I didn't even realize until I was in the interview, like, yeah, this is for the video game division. I was like, oh, yeah, 100%. Like, love video games. I totally applied for that reason. Like, and they really liked my past experience with internships. Like, and that summer, I worked for the publishing department for some of the most awesome game producers that I think are still in this industry and so incredible mentors to me and taught me like what video game production and development was all about. And I feel so blessed to have worked with these people. They're so fucking talented. And it showed me this is the perfect niche for me. It is between art, design, animation, music. It's like that perfect technical engineering like thing. And despite all these things that I was just good at, what I really, really was great at was working with people. And that's why I thought I should be a video game producer because that's what this person does.
Dude, that's a snappy moment right there. Any name drop that you have, like any mentor that you want to just like say?
Yeah,
I appreciate
Rob
this guy.
Shepard, that guy's awesome. Jason Garwood, Peter Wise. I think he's still the head of like global publishing over at Xbox.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, he's
these
a
guys
legend,
were
dude.
awesome.
He's
like,
a legend.
Yeah, they like really like they looked after me. I think they all liked me because I was like motivated and like smart, I guess. They're like, oh, you have a future in this. Like, let me help you. But
I'm sure like the multiple hats to help too. The fact that you could do so much.
I did a lot of stuff. That was the coolest job. Like I learned so much from those guys. I got to work on some really amazing projects. And because I actually had a background in creating these things instead of just the business side, I would be sent to the different studios and help them do production and close out games, or help, train an entire staff of 200 people to show people how to play Shadow of War on the Gamescom floor.
Oh my God,
like,
the memories on that game,
it
Shadow
was so
of War.
cool. I got to travel the world doing that job, like, and just like telling people about games and playing them for people because I was good at like showcasing it.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. I got to work at a lot of studios, and I learned a lot of ways that different studios made games very quickly. Because I'd go here for like, 6 months, or, I'd go over to WB Games Montreal and I'd work with those guys on building a QA studio for a couple months at a time. And it was cool to see, here's how all these different studios do this so differently,
well,
but get the same result.
Let's actually dive into that a little bit, because one of the cool things about you is that you are the executive producer. And not only at your current company, which we're definitely going to talk about that, but I believe you were either one of the head producers or executive producers at for Helldivers too, if I'm not
Production
mistaken.
director. Yeah.
Exactly. So I want to know what that means in your own words, and I also want to understand like how that works in a workflow in terms of like getting a game out the door, because I think a lot of people are very curious what that looks like from an internal perspective. Like, how does a game get published, especially from a producer's point of view?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like, I can't even believe that video games get made sometimes. They're so complex. Like,
you already hear from Evan. He cannot believe how
it's wild. It's just a bunch of magic, and the producers come in, they wave their magic producer wands.
The magic behind
work
the
gets
video
done
games,
faster. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So how it gets done, Eddie, is you have a big whip. And then you go over to all your developers and you say, harder, more, better. And there it is.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Episode over. All right. Thank you, everybody.
No, that's like what everyone thinks that, we do. It's a journey, right? And it depends on how big the studio is and the game that you're working on. But what I've learned from being a game producer is it's not really about like project management in the traditional sense. This isn't really a field of engineering as much as it is a creative field. And being a good producer and getting a game done really is about aligning with the creative strategy of the studio. What are we making? How do we want to make it? How do we make good? How do we make quality? Like, and working with creative direction on when you're like telling your developers what you want, how do you get good out of them? And then you develop a production process custom to that studio and that creative's way of working. And I think this is why a lot of game producers don't work well with just like being hired in. They have their own way of like, I think games are made this way. And how they're really made is you need to be able to adjust to a team's way of working and the creative leadership's way of making quality. And this is something that I think we did really well at Arrowhead. I was so ingrained with creative leadership there. I mean, Johan and Emil, those guys were some of my best friends. Like, we did everything together. And when we were just hanging out, we'd be talking about making games and making Helldivers and how to make it better and how to make the studio better. And it really was an exploration of going in there. And when I first started, we were 30 people. I was the only producer there. That's why they hired me. They're like, we're making a big game, Evan. Like, we probably need a producer because it's big enough now where this is going to be a thing. And the first thing is you come in, you say, all right, guys, well, what are you building? Why? What's the feature set? Like, what makes this cool? Like, what are all the components that make this awesome? And what is unique and cool and different about those components? And that was the first thing that I did was let's just make a list of all the things what you guys want in this game. And they didn't have that.
I was just about to ask. I was going to ask if they knew right away what they wanted, because this is like off of the heels of Helldivers 1, right? And so they were pretty much set on creating Helldivers 2. And I guess my question there is two questions there. Were you out in Sweden working with them, or were you working out here?
No, I moved there specifically for that job.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I just finished Shadow of War, and Johan was messaging me before that. He's like, "Hey man, you want to come to Sweden? You want to do this?" Because I worked on Gauntlet with them, and I think we just jammed together really well.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Nah, man, I want to finish this project. It's the first thing I really did from start to finish. But maybe when it's out, we'll talk about it." And that was like a fun thing I thought about, But when the game came out, he was like, "Hey man, heard the game came out. Congratulations, super hyped to play it. Want to come work with us and move to Sweden?" I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, I'm young. Like, this is the time I want to do this. I really want to take all the things I've learned from all these studios and enact it in a way that I feel like really, really would work.
Yeah. Well, was there like a selling point? Like, I mean, I know that you gelled really well with the leadership, which is obviously important in making the game. Was there something like a plan, or did they tell you something that convinced you that you were like, oh, you know what? This is a game I want to put my hands on?
You know what, Eddie? I should have asked more questions about it. They didn't tell me shit about the game. But
that's kind of their style, though.
Yeah,
that's kind of their style, though.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we're gonna make a dope game. Just come over.
No, but here's what it was. Like, I had worked with those guys before, and they are so talented. They're so good at what they do and game design and running this stuff. Like, just from talking to them over lunches when I worked at Gauntlet, I could tell that there's something really special about these guys. Like, whatever they do is going to be amazing, and I want to work with them. I want to build this thing together with them, and that's really what we were doing on that journey. It wasn't just building Helldivers 2, we were building the studio along the way. This was like pretty much a startup when I started. It was like 30, 35 people. I started the same day the HR guy did, because we're like, well, we need to hire about 40 people. So then I think that max it was going to be 45 when they first hired me, and we were a year and a half from launch. That didn't happen. But yeah, that's how it all started, was like, okay, like, let's start building this. And I sat down with them and really tried to pick their brain. They knew what they wanted to make, but they didn't have any tangible, feature set. So it was like, okay, let's break this down. Like, what are all the features that equal your vision of Helldivers 2? And like, that original thing was, long gone. Like, every other month, like, we'd change it.
Well, okay, so there's so many questions I want to ask about that. I mean, because
sorry, a lot of stuff.
No,
right?
it is. But see, that's why we're here. Because again, I'm a big fan of this game, and I've played this game way too much. Not way too much. It's impossible. I'm a healthy level 96. Okay, so I played it enough.
Couple hours.
I'm actually kind of curious, Andrew, if you have a second to pull up maybe like Helldivers 1, some of that footage just to see. Because I'll be honest, I heard about Helldivers 1, but I didn't get a chance to play it when it first came out. But Helldivers 2 was my introduction to that. So I think the big mystery that there is people want to know how it went from that like top view to that 3D view. That's probably one of the biggest curiosities, and there's a lot more when it comes to like how the system was designed. But I guess my question there is, was that the initial intention? Yeah, so here we go. So for any of you who haven't played Helldivers 1, you can basically see it's a pretty much top-down view, and it's almost like not an RTS, but it's very much like a strategy style game in a way.
It's almost like a twin stick shooter. Like,
yeah. So clearly there was a vision to expand on this. So I guess that's my question, is that initial conversation you had with them and how you mentioned how we need to have the feature set, we need to make sure that it's better. What was there in place, and what was the things that you sort of came up with along the way?
It was interesting, man. Like, I mean, Johan always talked about, he was like, well, it was just the clear next step. Like, I wanted to make this the biggest thing, this biggest, most awesome thing ever. So it just needed to be in, third person. Like, it was so obvious. And it was like, why are you even asking me about that? Of course, that was what we needed to do. Like, we all saw it. Like, when I got there and I saw the game for the first time, I was like, this looks really polished. Like,
was it already in third person?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the intention the whole time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was originally 5 players.
Yeah. See, that was actually an interesting point that we saw, that the intention was for 5 players. What was the decision to make it 4?
It was way too crazy to make it work with 5 players. Like, it was madness. Like, the hardest thing about making this game was making the really fun chaos experience consistent. And with more players, like, cameras got more spread out, and then spawning was really weird because it would have to detect where players are, and like, it was already a hard enough thing to balance with 4. I can't even believe we ever considered doing 5. Well, it was for like a year and a half or something before we changed it. There were a lot of things that went into that decision, but I mean, it's a system-based game, right? So when you make a change to it, it's not like, okay, we made a change and that's addressing this issue. It was like, cool, we made a change to the system. Who knows how that's going to affect things? I guess we're just going to play it for a couple hours and see. And it would change things in unpredictable, wild, totally different ways, sometimes good, sometimes crazy and horrible.
Like what ways? So what was there, like something that stood out to you, like a memory, like, oh my God, that just broke the game completely?
I mean, dude, Eddie, that was happening constantly. That was like every other day. Like
One example, if you could think of like a funny one.
hard to say exactly. I guess there's just so many, but we would be like, okay, we're going to change the sight distances of scout units by an extra 3 feet. And then it'd be like, oh my God, there's enemies everywhere. Like, how is this happening? Like, okay, we're gonna change the number of ghost, patrols around. Like, okay, we're gonna drop them by like 10%. And then it's like empty. Like, there'd be like really weird things of like, oh, it's not actually the number of patrols. This would help us debug it, right? It's not about the amount of patrols. It's about the way sight distances in the level. It's a level design thing. Like, holy crap, it has nothing to do with spawn rates or the, AI systems or anything like that. And that's why the pushing and pulling on this game took so long, because we really had to figure out what was it that was causing the thing that we didn't like.
So
there were so many systems in it.
Well, okay, so it seems like, one of my biggest curiosities, and I'm sure there's so many, is definitely like the AI. Definitely like the enemy, I think, is probably like a big selling point for a lot of people, because it just feels so different with every faction that you play, with every planet that you're on. It just feels like a completely different battle, and it's very believable that you're on this intergalactic war. So you did mention earlier how they toyed with changing the sight line a little bit, right? From all these enemy AIs. So there is no like set spawn rate in the game. It's more about how the AI sees you, and then does the game adapt to that? Is that how it was cited?
This was like a design philosophy at Arrowhead, was like, it's all about not having designers being designers. We're like, I'm going to curate this really specific design event for the player, and they're going to enjoy it in this exact specific way. They were all about creating mechanics that enabled emergent gameplay. So it's like, if scouts always work like this, then you can strategize around that. And that creates interesting moments, because if you can create a world where they all work in this logical kind of way, then if it all kind of clicks, then it's this kind of predictable, strategic kind of world, but they work in a naturalistic feeling way. So AI didn't really have like, this is how the AI always behaves. It's like, AI always goes towards the closest Helldiver or something, for example. Like, I don't think that's actually how it works, but
I was about to ask, like, I feel like that's the case sometimes.
We would make rules like that kind of were like, this is, I think, how it would work in an actual military situation. Because those guys have military backgrounds, we would always be talking about it that way.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense now when I think about it, like the strategic aspect of the whole game and making sure that you flank and all that stuff.
Yeah. That stuff was like very much like, we want it to feel this way. And it was a huge like debate with Sony too, of like, we wanted this to be a little bit milsim, but not like crunchy Arma, like milsim, like that's really hard to get into.
I do like my Arma boys though. I like Arma.
Shout out, Arma's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, and we took a lot of inspiration from that game and games like Tarkov that are really hardcore. Like, and we're like, how do we take some of these mechanics that we really like that get you in this very intense, like kind of real feeling situation, but we can make it something that like anyone can get into and have fun. But if they really wanted to get into the strategy and the depth and like get cover lines and flanking maneuvers, then you could do that too. And you could be way more effective if you do it that way. And that was a really hard thing to show like a publisher, for example, because you'd have to sit down. You'd like really have to like have a cohesive team that would communicate this way.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. Anyone could just pick up the game and kind of like run and shoot and have a good time. And they're like, why am I running out of ammo so fast? Like, and then you'd learn really quickly, okay, like, when you reload, like you throw away your bullets. Or really the first thing that would happen is everyone just shoots their team member. Like, okay, this is a different kind of game. Like, actually,
you know what? Was friendly fire intentional from the very beginning?
Always. And that was never up for debate.
Really?
Yep. Same as Helldivers 1. There were like 2 things that we knew 100%. Don't even ask us to change it. Yet Sony still did sometimes. Was the strategy mechanic with the D-pad, and it was friendly fire is on. Like, and like we designed around that stuff. Like, this has to be a believable game. Yeah. And this was Arrowhead's big thing, right? It's not about realism, it's about believability. That's one of their temples. And we really, really had to hold our ground on this. Like, realism, that doesn't matter, right? It's like there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening. There's robots and aliens.
You're fighting giant bugs.
Exactly, right? But believability, things had to work in this universe the way that you would expect them to, given the rules that the universe has set out. And that's the way that all of the mechanics really stem from in the game. Of course, there's bullet drop. Like, of course there's real projectiles. Like,
Of course, it's a spaceship in the sky.
yeah.
Like clearly it's shooting. And actually, you know what? On that note, because again, my mind just goes everywhere. I think for me, when I first saw Helldivers 2 on YouTube and I saw several people playing it, honestly, for me, one of the biggest selling points was definitely the stratagems. I think the stratagems is something that everyone can see for the first time and they're just blown away. I mean, I have my friend Cam here too, who like plays the game, and I'm sure he understands. Like one of the first times that you ever play that game, you just see from the spaceship just a gigantic beam hit. And it's not like, I feel like it's not the only game that's ever incorporated like space stuff that explodes. But there's something about seeing that spaceship interact with everything that you're doing and it happening in real time. I guess that's my curiosity, is you have this believability concept. I guess, was it difficult implementing the ship and the stratagems to kind of happen in real time?
Nah.
No?
Nah.
Oh,
it
okay.
wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, there's a little bit of faking like going on, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, that was the kind of stuff where like we never questioned it. It's like, of course that has to happen. Like,
Yeah.
There's an interesting thing that we would always talk about at Arrowhead, right? Like, fantasy first was a big thing. It's like it mattered a little less about all the individual mechanics and more that you really believed that you were this cannon fodder soldier that was told he was a super soldier. And that was the difference that we had to get across to so many people, all the marketing people. It's like, yeah, but you're this cool super soldier with all these guns. Like, no, you're not a super soldier. You were just told you're a super soldier, but you've had 30 minutes of training and you're given all these powerful weapons. You have no idea how to use them. Like,
that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I feel like that in every single round. Every time I hop in and then you just get rad dogged everywhere and you can't control
this was
it.
the fun. The fantasy was that I'm just one of those random like soldiers and Starship Troopers that gets killed immediately. You're just the grunt. That's the fantasy. This is not Call of Duty where you're this badass. Like, this isn't like, Tom Clancy games or something like that where, you're just making all this crazy shit happen. Like, you're just a guy.
Yeah.
You're just a guy.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Just a guy.
Your life is worth about, the 3 seconds that it takes you to get out of the hell pod and then have another hell pod crush you.
What was the inspiration for that?
This was Johan's thing from, Helldivers 1. Like, it was the same kind of thing. It was combining a lot of like the favorite like 80s style movies, Terminator, like all this kind of stuff. Like Starship Troopers, obviously a huge one. He was so inspired by Aliens, and the way that that movie felt, and you could just tell. Love this movie. We watch it all the time, right? Because one of the main inspirations of the game. Just like, look at the weight of that machine gun. Like, it should feel this way.
Yeah.
This is the fantasy first kind of thing. You should really feel like I have this awesome arsenal behind me. Like, but you're so expendable and you can die so easily, just like anyone could. Like, and that was kind of the comedy of the whole game,
Yeah.
And we really, really spent a lot of effort on like, we want, when you get hit by a hell pod, you gotta really like see the gore, like, and the jibs. Like, it was like a big thing. It should be funny. Like, it should be laugh out loud funny how stupidly grotesque you could just die. Like,
honestly, it's refreshing that it seems like that was the vision always. Like, they wanted the gore, they wanted the humor, they wanted it to just feel.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but it's to me, it seemed very Starship Troopers like, very much from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's not that. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah,
but it feels like I'm in a type of universe like that, where I could be basically just cannon fodder like that.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious, and you did mention this a little bit earlier. And you were having discussions with Sony and all that. We know that they published the game. Was there ever any sort of pushback on the general sense of it being cannon fodder and it being a little bit more friendly, different than that?
I mean, yes and no, right? Like, Sony was always very behind the vision of the game, right? And the satire and that whole thing. Mark Rogers was the executive producer on the game. He did the first one with those guys. Like, they've worked with them longer than I did. And he was so behind like on the vision of this game. But like, games change, right? And the further we got in development, like, you'd watch an executive play this and they'd be like, this is really hard. I'm just dying like left and right. Like, do I really need to go all the way over there? Like, what happens like in between? Like, we sometimes get the pressure of like, well, what if movement was just faster? Like, what if it was more like Destiny?
Ooh.
And for every little thing that was suggested like this, like, I think they just want us to make it more like Destiny. Like, it's like, this is not Destiny. And this is like around the time the games like Elden Ring were doing extremely well. And we'd point to this and be like, guys, like, look, we can treat our players with some respect here. Like, people don't necessarily always want this casual, super easy to get into experience. Like, a game for everyone is a game for no one. Like, and we very much, that's Arrowhead's thing, right? And like, we'd have to remind our own publisher this all the time. Like, but they got it. They were in on it, you know? Sometimes we just be like, no, guys, like, there's not going to be an auto reload. Like, it's important. The reloading is part of the strategy. Like, you have to communicate about this with your team. It's part of the cooperative experience. Co-op at every level. That was our thing. Like, you should have to communicate about everything. Where you are, who you're seeing, who's next to you, what's going on over there. I just heard a stalker. Oh my God. Like,
I'm curious about, so first things first, I appreciate that Arrowhead seem just very much focused on this vision, because it seems to me like sometimes, you know, the relationship between publishers and studios can depend, right?
Yeah,
Depend on what is trending in the industry. I mean, the fact that you mentioned Destiny 2, it's a success, but I do feel like it can be easy as an executive to say, well, that worked.
Yeah.
So can you do the same? Maybe just like copy and paste some of this and do that over there. It seems like you all had a very strong head in getting this vision across.
Yeah.
What I'm sort of wondering is, when it came to sort of like the gore, when it came to like, you know how the body's just gonna split up and the head flies over there, the arm falls away, people are yelling, my arm, and it's limping. Was there a pushback on that?
Nah.
No pushback on that.
Nah.
I'm genuinely surprised on that.
It was just part of the comedy and awesomeness of the game. And like when we did usability tests, Sony ran those, like they would be like, we've never heard so much laughter coming from one of our UX rooms. And it's like, they got it, you know? They'd see that and be like, okay, there really is some magic here.
Yeah.
And like I said, the hard part was just making that magic fire most every game. Instead of for most of development, it was like, you know, every 3 or 4 games. And it was like, how do we just make this consistent? That was the hard part. But yeah, as a producer, like it was very much like, you know, we mind meld with this, and producers are often treated as like, oh, you're the manager, business, project manager guy. Like, go do a spreadsheet, go write some Jira tickets. Like,
don't talk about Jira to me.
Oh yeah, but you know what makes this kind of relationship important is that I'm in on the creative. I get this vision.
Yeah.
So I can also go to Sony and fight that fight. Like, and I can also work with a team that's in the development of, you know, a specific feature, and I already know what it's doing and not doing. I don't need to go pull in Johan on everything and be like, hey, is this doing it? I'm like, no. Here's what it is, guys. And I can already work on this kind of stuff. Like, it's important to be someone and a producer who's not only creative and can work on the creative, but also technical and can read commit lines and understand where problems are. Like, I think that's where a lot of it breaks down. But I think that we had a really good relationship like that at Arrowhead, where like it was creative production.
Yeah.
And when Johan came to me and said something like, hey man, like, I thought about this all weekend. I've been playing the game. Like, I really think here's a thing that I think is missing. We need this feature here. I'm like, all right, man, well, that's going to affect the schedule. But let's talk about it. Like, tell me why it's so awesome. Like, tell me why we think we, need this and where it's going to affect it. And, I'm in on all this. So it was like, okay, I can see this. Like, and then I start doing, the producer thing where it's like, okay, how can we actually make this happen development side? Like, we can probably pull this person who's working on this thing. This person's actually really good at this. We can put them over here and make this a lot of the feature. This thing probably doesn't matter as much anymore. Maybe you can drop that off. Let's pause it for now, though. We'll see how it affects it.
Yeah.
Like, you're picking like the matrix together of like all the different parts to try to make it happen. And that's often why this game took as long as it did, is because we'd have a development schedule. We'd work towards it. We'd be playing the most recent version of the game. And we'd be like, you know what? It's doing the things. It's a little better than before, but like, okay, these things over here aren't working. Like, this thing could be so much better. And we talk again, like holistically, like, okay, if we take a step back, like, what do we do? And usually the result of those conversations were, okay, this game's going to take a little bit longer. Like, we're going to have to redo the development schedule.
Can you rush it along, guys? Well, I'm curious, because was there a specific feature that took longer than other features that the team decided, hey, we need to wait for this feature to be done? Otherwise, it probably would have been done sooner. But I'm curious if there's a specific feature that made it to the final title that was absolutely necessary, and you took the time with it, and it clearly paid off. Was there any specific one?
It's hard to say.
Maybe all of them.
Like, because it is a system-driven game, like, it was pretty much from the system side. It's like, all right, we need a system for this. Like, the targeting pinging system, it's like, that's part of the whole co-op communication thing. We always know that we needed that, right? But it integrated into the way that people played the game, because now they could communicate in an entirely different way. And like, okay, now the game's a little too easy because people are able to target stuff much more accurately. This is an example. I don't know if that actually was one of them. It might have been, but it was stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, you put in a new system that we know we needed, and it's like, okay, everything that we thought it was now changed a little bit. Now we have to redial everything, you know, differently. The procedural generation was, I think, one of the most complex things like about this game. Yeah.
Walk me through a little bit about how that works, because when you're saying that, you're talking about the maps themselves, right? Like they're all different, and they all obviously feel different.
Yeah.
How did you guys go about designing that? And I know that the choice was to be it was generated, but is there any kind of limitations or any specific features that you made sure that each planet has to make sure it feels cohesive?
So much.
So much. Okay,
I don't even know if I could get into all of it. Like,
really,
it's extremely complex, and here's why. One, the engineers that did this thing were incredible. Like, they were amazing.
Salute to you.
Yep, salute to them. And super job. Like, but we iterated on this thing pretty much for years, right? Like, it was always dialing it, because there's a lot of different things that this needed to do, right? It needed to be replayable, so they needed to feel different enough, like where it was like, okay, I'm not seeing the same thing over and over. It needed to be beautiful. It needed to look cool and interesting, and these environments needed to feel like their own biomes, and it needed to play well. You needed to have the right sight distances. You needed to have interesting like features, things you could call out that were landmarks. Objectives specifically like fell in this category, but like to an extreme extent, right? We could generate like objectives that had different like things around there, but often we'd found that that's just like crazy chaotic, and it would be way too much variation in how fun they were, and like different entry points for like when swarms were coming in. Like, we're like, okay, we need to probably come in and do a little bit more manual level design when it comes to some of the more dedicated objective points. But in between that, it was all sorts of different stuff. So when you were doing level design, you weren't doing it with, you know, prefabs and assets. You were doing it with a generator. So imagine all the iteration that something like, you know, a Call of Duty does when it comes to their levels, right?
Yeah,
you had to do that procedurally.
I was about to ask you to expand on that a little bit, because generally speaking, the way that level design usually works is it's very static. Like, you basically draw a picture and you draw the building here, and then you draw the thing here, the objective here, and it's always going to be that. Like, especially with Call of Duty, that map will always be that map. But when it comes to something that's generated, you basically have to set up parameters and tell it like, hey, if it's on a desert planet, make sure that there's X amount of hills, X amount of this. Is it very specific like that, or is it more of like, did it learn a little bit on what to do? I guess that's where I'm curious.
Yeah, you know, I probably can't speak a ton to the technical details.
That's fair.
Like, so I don't know if I want to try and sound like an idiot for, you know, if those guys are watching it, like, he's no idea what he's talking about. I just know that it was extremely complex. And there were even times, like sometimes, you know, years into this, we were like, do we need to entirely redo the generator? Because it's just not doing what we need. It's like, there's a whole different, like, you know, like way of doing generation. There's a lot of different, like, you know, I forget the algorithm or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's all coded, right? It's all pretty much like a learning model.
There's different algorithms for creating different kinds of generation. And there were times where we talked about like, oh my God, do we have to put in time here to entirely update the way that we do generation? And like, as a producer, those things, I'm like, okay, guys, like, let's talk about this some more before we really commit to this. Like, the pros and cons, like, can we make what we have work? Is that going to take more or less time than just redoing it? These kind of decisions, the conversations are happening all the time. Sometimes we decide, okay, you know what? We just have to bite the bullet. It's just going to make the game better. Like, we have to redo this thing, or we have to iterate on this some more. And sometimes we were able to be like, okay, like, we might be able to take what we have and like either repurpose it or improve it or something like that. You know, that was a large part of my job, was strategizing on that level. Like, is it worth the creative? What are the trade-offs? Like, can we make this happen? But in the end, the cool thing about working on this game with Arrowhead is they have such a strong vision. Like, you know, and I became a part of that vision too, of like, we all shared this, like, we know what we're making. We know what it is. Like, we know what it isn't. And can we just pull that off? And when we do, we just need to really make sure that it is hitting on that. Like, and it was like, I think a lot of studios are just like, okay, like, it's kind of doing it. It's good. Like, our publishers are happy. Like, players seem to be enjoying this in usability tests. Like, you know, we're very much like to a certain extent in the beginning, it's like, I don't care what players think. They don't know what they want. Like, it's like, when we give it to them, they're going to love it. Like, and that was kind of the thing, was like, you know, we really, really knew what we had to hit. And if it wasn't working, we would just fucking change it. Dude. We would just make it work, because we were not okay with launching something that just wasn't incredible.
Yeah. And I
Like
love
this was our chance, you know. This was like a huge game that we were making, and if it failed, you know, that'd probably be the end of the studio. All the money, all the delays, all of that stuff. And Johan and Emil and all those guys are just like, this is my whole life. This is my life's work.
Yeah.
And if I'm putting it out there, it's gonna be incredible, or else. Like,
my God, I love that was the passion behind all that.
yeah,
That absolutely showed, because I think it sold incredibly well. It blew everything out of the water. And I think it left a lasting impression in someone like me and in the industry. I think people are paying attention to it. One of the things I'm interested, and I'm not sure if you had a hand in this, you probably did as a producer. I think that we don't have to get into details on this, but the monetization side of it is actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think the war bonds and everything that you can add on as a DLC or things that you can get, very common in the industry nowadays. And it is one of those things that's just normal. But I find that I don't ever mind buying a war bond. I think I enjoy everything that it's put out, depending on the weapons, depending on what's offered. My question is very generic, but it really stems on the idea of how was that designed, the whole war bond system? And my thoughts is it doesn't feel greedy. If that makes sense. I could be wrong, but it doesn't feel greedy. And so is there anything you can kind of let us know on how that whole system was thought up?
Yeah. How it started was, I think it was me, Johan, and someone, or I think either our gameplay director, we call him Fluffy. We were at Johan's kitchen table, like with a pen and a paper, being like, how would this work? Like, and this is really early on, like being like, well, it has to be like this. Do we just have one currency? Do we have a premium currency? Like, it just started at the very, very beginning. Like,
same with the samples too? Or like, oh no, that's different. That's in-game stuff.
That was a different part of the economy, but yeah, it was just like that. And I think the vision that, you know, Johan always had for it was, it has to provide extreme value, and it has to add to the player fantasy. And he'd always use the examples of, it's a G.I. Joe action figure. It's a G.I. Joe action figure. It comes with, you know, your cool armor and a weapon that's related to that. It's like, it's a one packet fantasy. It's like, I'm the sniper guy. And it comes with a sniper rifle and some goggles and a sniper looking outfit. So when you're buying something, it doesn't be like, oh, it's just another piece of gear. It's like, oh, now I get to be the medic. Like, sweet.
I love being the medic.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever tried being the medic? You get 2 extra stims.
Yeah.
I think that's when I first played with Cam. He actually was like, "Do the medic. Like, you're gonna need extra
You'll
stims
like it.
because you're new. So just go ahead and do that. I already have that unlocked for you." So yeah, I did that.
It's not just because you knew. It's a good strategy. If you never tried being the medic, it actually helps quite a bit, especially as you're extracting. You can just pop like all those stems and you survive. But very clearly, see, like we're all very much big fans of like what was decided and what made it into the final game. A couple more questions I have regarding like the actual system itself. I feel like there is a very good balance between the weapons and the actual stratagems that was used. I find that most games, and I could be wrong, but most games really lean towards one thing, and they do that one thing really well. But somehow you could be a very good soldier on the ground without using stratagems. Might be a little impossible, but you still can. So I guess for my question for you was there as much attention paid to weapons as much as it was like stratagems, or was there more effort on one side over the other?
I mean, it was all kind of the same, really. Like we viewed it all as combat, you know, like we did treat them separately, but we don't. One of the cool things about design at Arrowhead is like, I think that this was even said out loud. Like, I don't believe in balance. Balance is stupid. Like, and I think what was really meant by that was, this isn't about pushing and pulling damage numbers and health bars. Like, it was really about, if this thing's too good, well, then we shouldn't make it weaker. That would just make it less fun. It should just be more dangerous. You should be able to just kill your friends easier with it, you know? And that was the way that we like pushing and pulling stuff to keep the game really fun. Like, so I think that weapons, we wanted to also feel powerful and interesting and fun, like, and effective. Like, when you shot a bug, you should watch it rip apart, regardless whether you're using a machine gun or your liberator. Like,
that's Tommy's favorite gun. He loves just unloading a giant heavy machine gun onto a bug.
Anything else? Like, I'm gonna bring it down another one.
yeah, Tommy. The machine gun's OG. Like, I mean, that was one of the first stratagems that we implemented. It's still one of the most used.
It's still, I mean, it's incredible how good of a stratagem it is, because I feel like, generally speaking, most games sort of have that like linear progression where you start with a semi-decent loadout and you kind of get better and better and better as you play the game. But I feel like with Helldivers, and this sort of ties in with so many things, including the war bonds, what's given in the game outside the box. It's already OP, and
Yeah.
you can find your own strategy there. I'm actually kind of curious. Is there any weapons that you really really liked, and some that you like hated that you're like that kind of ruins the game for me? I mean, none of them do, in my opinion. But
right.
any of your favorites?
Personally, not really.
No?
Like, yeah. Like, I mean, during development, like they were all over the place. Like sometimes I'd be like, and we'd play every week with the studio. That was really important. I really believe in that, by the way, when it comes to game development. Play your game all the time. Like,
Yeah. I was gonna ask, what are your stratagems? Like, what do you like when you're playing? What it's like? All right, this is what my loadout's gonna be.
I'm a pretty basic guy, I love just a couple of good orbitals, like a resupply to help out the homies, and then I just choose one support weapon. Like pretty much always need a good support weapon, and I'd like the grenade launcher or the machine gun.
That's Tommy's loadout.
Yeah. I don't even bring in like any. It's just turrets.
Yeah.
No, you like the expendable anti-tank ones too.
Yeah. The turrets were kind of like the temple of like, this is a fun stratagem, because it was the perfect amount of like, it's good, it's helpful, you don't need to think about it too much, and it also will kill all your friends like in a hilarious way. And we're like, how do we make things feel more like that? Like
It'll kill everybody. I love the mortars, and I don't use them anymore, but I remember as a beginner, I love that they kill everybody, including you.
Yeah.
Is there
for the longest time, the mines were just like, they were the bastard child of the studio. They're just like, no one brought in the mines. You were going guaranteed to kill your friends more than any enemies. And we had to really be like, okay, these need to be less dangerous for your friends. How do we do this? We need to make it more obvious. Like, we want you to put a light on them. Like, they used to be like really hidden. You're just constantly blowing up your friends. Like,
We had a no mines, no mortar rule. It was like, yeah, no, we're way too much.
It's so much fun when you're like you bring the mines and you're doing your own thing, and then you hear a poof, and then it's like so and so died, and then you hear like, man,
God damn it.
Then you call them in.
That's usually Eddie. Why'd you bring those?
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the fun though, and that's what I love about this game. That it just creates that like camaraderie. That like I'm never that mad. Honestly,
yeah.
When someone accidentally kills me, it doesn't make me mad.
That was the goal always. Like, this was another temple. Sorry, one of the things it's always PvE. There's no PvP. Like, and sometimes Sony would be like, but what about PvP? We'd be like, no. Remember what we're doing. Like, okay, that's cool. Let's go. Like,
And was there ever even a build? Like, did you ever have to build a build just to see how it would
No.
see? No,
no,
Oh, perfect.
we never even considered it. This is one of those things. It's just like unrelenting vision. Like, it's just, this is the way it is. Like, we have to have the camaraderie, even a little bit of PvP. Just, it's that toxic kind of like, competitive. We want people to feel like they're really together. And it's co-op at every level, including at the global level with the Galactic War. That was the same thing. We wanted everyone to be on the same team. If you can meet someone across the world and you saw them wearing a Helldivers shirt, you'd be like, yeah, we're on the same team, man.
Yeah.
That was the vision for this. Like, and that was the vision for the Galactic War too. Johan would always say something like, I want people to be at a wedding, get a notification, and be like, sorry guys, I gotta go.
I just did that last week. No, I'm kidding. Oh my god, that makes me so happy. Like, honestly, I keep saying this because I love this game so much, and it makes me happy to know that there was just this vision from day one to where we're currently at. I'm actually kind of curious about this too. 40 minutes seems like a lot, but also a little sometimes. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a match where we've done all the objectives and it's like, oh, we got 25 minutes left. Let's either do whatever we want, or other missions where it's like 5 minutes left and then you haven't even done the main objective, and then you're just like, oh my god, I got to get the hell out of here. Why is it a 40-minute cap? Was that like tested? Was that like perfect timing that you
this
guys
was
found?
one of the things that we iterated on a ton.
Mhm.
Like, there used to not even be a time limit. Like,
Really?
Yeah, for the most of development, there was no time limit. It was just do the objectives, get to extraction. It was one of the things we actually came in more towards the end, where we're like, how do we make this feel more like a get to the chopper moment?
Mm.
Like, because people could take their time. If you're taking your time, then you could do everything kind of perfectly. The kind of pressure wasn't there. We really push and pulled on the time limit a lot. Like, sometimes it was 10. We're like, oh, so it's 30. Let's change the number of deaths that you had. I mean, it used to be unlimited. For most of development, it was unlimited. Unlimited
Really?
reinforcements, yeah. Like, and then we're like, okay, like, this is the kind of balance that this game took. Was there were so many levers that could be pulled to get the right feeling. Sometimes you didn't even know like where to start. And if you pulled this one, then this one needed to be pulled. And now that these three are pulled, it's like this thing over here is crazy. Like, okay, now we got to pull these 4 more levers to adjust for those 4 levers. Like, the time limit was one of those things. Like, just iterated on a ton.
What about the size of the map?
Same. Yeah.
Same thing?
Same thing. We just pretty much had to shrink it constantly.
Really?
From when it was first made, we first got the generation, then we're like, okay, cool. Every couple months we'd be like, I think the map needs to be smaller. Like, I think the travel distances are too long. I think that the sight distances are too much. I think too much dead time between objectives. Like, you know, oh, the spawners like can't handle like these kind of like distances. Like, yeah, we just kind of slowly just shrink it more and more and more. And then we had the problem of how do we make this feel like a believable place, but it's actually like 1 kilometer big, you know? Like, that's like the magic of like game world development is like, how does this feel like a whole biome? But really you can just like walk from place to place so easily.
Yeah.
Like, although, I mean, there's the uncanny valley of like, oh, this just doesn't seem believable anymore. It's like, this is weird. Everything feels really close and big or small. Like,
yeah,
this is why it took so much iteration.
Which I love. What about I'm like, the size of the map is also something that I found interesting, but I'm curious about how intense the spawning gets as the timer runs out. I mean, I think a lot of roguelike games have that same example, but I'm curious, is that something that Helldivers 2 does as well? Like, is there like a timer and it says that, after 10 minutes, maybe double the spawn rate, maybe triple the spawn rate, or is that always set from the beginning depending on how well I do as a player?
It does adjust a little bit over time and with other factors as well. I can't even remember all of it. Like,
just so much.
Yeah, it's a very, very complex thing. And
yeah,
we iterated on it so much. Sometimes I kind of forgot where we ended up. What did we end up deciding? Like,
I don't know. It worked.
The whole thing, at least from a producer standpoint, was iteration. Like, my main job was iterating on our production processes. Every 10 people that we hired, I had to throw out the entire production process that I just created. That was like, we were just getting it to work, but now we had like more people and it like didn't work in that process anymore. It's like, well, I guess I got to redesign how we do production at this whole studio again. I think there were 5 iterations or maybe 6, like full iterations of an entire production methodology.
Oh, wow.
Like, that was, my contribution to the strategy was, okay, how do we actually make this game from a development standpoint? And just how many times I had to change that.
Oh, man. So you were there from beginning to launch, or did you leave shortly before launch?
I left a little before launch, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Oh. And you went from there to start your own studio, if I'm not mistaken.
Not directly. I had a little side quest in between on Final Strike. Super
Final
cool.
Strike.
Incredible studio. Those guys are so talented and they're so fun to work with. I loved it. We were doing a co-dev project with a studio in Santa Monica. There were like 400 people on this game. It was an awesome, super cool game. It was going super well. I think Sony had a bad quarter and they just canceled 4 games all at once. And that was one of them. And I think, both studios were like, we're going to be around for 1 week with this number of people. Like, and they tried to make it work. We had some other cool stuff in development, but funding was kind of drying up at this point, like in 2023. And like, people weren't funding games the same way. I had already started this studio at that time. I was like, you know what? Time to go all in on this. Like, Helldivers was just coming out and it was exploding. And I was like, I guess what I thought was a side project is now going to be the main quest. Like, we're gonna make something really cool here.
I love that you tied that in. I'm not sure if you're I'm not sure if you're a Family Guy fan. Like, he said it.
Yeah. Can't wait for that bonus check from you guys.
Oh my God, that's the 10-second clip. I do. Thank you. Well, okay. So you started your own studio, and it's called OmniCorp or OmniMegaSuperCorp. He knows.
OmniMegaSuperCorp, which we have come to realize might not have been the most off the cuff name. Having had my mom still being like, Mega Super OmniCorp. I'm like, come on, Mom, you gotta know this one, or I'm about to change the whole studio name.
Out of all things to know, that's the thing you have to know.
Yeah. No, OmniMegaSuperCorp. Awesome. Yeah. Russ Nickel, he was the lead writer, Helldivers 2. I hired him because he was a comedy and sci-fi writer and we needed a writer, and he was the guy and he's really funny. And I grabbed him and the community and marketing director from Helldivers 2. One of our friends was a programmer, and we're like, hey, let's make a game. Let's make a game that perfectly synergizes the narrative and the gameplay instead of having them just be 2 separate things. And let's do something that's full-blown comedy and satire, the way that Helldivers 2 is a comedy and satire, but more of a shooter. We're like, let's just like make a deliberate, it's a comedy, and our main unique selling point is it's hilarious.
Ooh, I love it. What can we know a little bit about like the premise of it?
Ledgerbound, yeah. We just announced it in June at the IGN summer live event. There's a trailer for it. You can check it out. Yeah, the premise is that you are the fantasy equivalent of an insurance adjuster whose job it is to deny the claims of adventurers, so you can tell the grieving widows that they died of their own incompetence. We don't have to pay them anymore. But when events occur, you have to leave your desk behind and go out into the world and try to stop a catastrophe from happening and ending the world, and probably your shot at a promotion.
That's incredible. Can you pull? Is the trailer on YouTube? Can we see it?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Well, I have it on.
Okay.
I'm looking at your LinkedIn.
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
I guess while he finds it. Okay, so then I get. So you're starting your own studio. I guess this is a good opportunity to ask. You take all this experience from all these major studios, and how do you, I guess compress that into an experience where you can, now that you're the lead of your own studio, is it different communicating that vision to your team, and how different it is from like working with Arrowhead or other studios?
I thought it'd be more different.
Okay.
I really did. But I think at this point, maybe I just know what I'm doing. Like, I think maybe I've made enough mistakes. This might surprise you, Eddie, but I made some mistakes over at Arrowhead when I was heading up production.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yep. I definitely had to redo some stuff. There were some things that I tried and they didn't work, which I think, I'm kind of bringing over into this. I'm like, you know what? I think I've made enough mistakes. Not to say I haven't made more mistakes now. You always do. But, I think that I'm like, I really have a grip on things. It feels like that I know how to build a really, really good team. And we built a really talented team for almost no money somehow, because funding that game these days is still really hard. But we have an incredible team, and we just had a playtest this last weekend, and we got some really strong marks from playtesters. They're really loving the game so far, so we're excited.
He found the trailer. I want to see. I want to see. And this was released on, or you presented this on IGN Live, right? Just a week ago.
That's when it announced in June.
Here we go.
Helldivers 2.
What's that?
I love the art.
Comes something completely different. You play as the noblest of fantasy heroes, an insurance adjuster
Carry the 2.
whose job is to deny claims to the grieving widows of fallen adventurers. It's super fun. The whole game is fun. It has everything you love about tactical RPGs, including but not limited to a rock, paper, scissors battle mechanic, a dating sim with compulsory
Is that
HR
Russ?
training.
Is that Russ's work, or was that your idea to keep it all sarcastic?
Have both.
A bag of rats.
Now we're talking.
And this old man.
All of this and more can be yours for the low price of $80.
No one would pay that much for this.
But now, when they see the real price, it'll seem like a steal.
Coming soon to Steam.
So that's Craig who did the VO for this, the Helldiver guy.
Quick Thomas?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. He's going to be here tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Fantastic. This is incredible. And I got to say, there's a lot here to unpack about the magic behind Helldivers, because I think that first off and foremost, the impression I got from you when you first came in here and just talked about the passion behind making sure that games are done right, and that there's that passion behind it. Clearly, I can see that in your own studio. I can see it in the writing, and I think that is what I want to see, especially with how games are always going to be a big business, but sometimes they can, we can stray away from that art form. And so
For sure.
I think it's always important to keep that. So to kind of start wrapping things up a little bit, I guess I would love to just hear some of your thoughts on where the gaming industry should go.
Oh my God, Eddie, yes.
What should we
I
do?
love talking about this.
Please.
I love talking about this. Games is the most important media platform that we have right now, because it's the most interacted with by a margin, right? Like, games makes more money than movies, music, television combined by a significant amount, right? And it's more and more all the time. We as game makers really, I think, have a responsibility to make something that's compelling, but also tell important stories. Like the way that movies were when I was a kid, this is games for kids nowadays. Like, this is how they learn about culture. This is how they learn lessons. This is how they, change their perceptions. And anyone too. It's not just kids, right? It's everyone. And we want to do the same thing with Helldivers, right? Like, it was really important to us all at that studio that we're telling a story here. When you really look behind the curtains and you ask yourself, are we the baddies? Like, maybe that's something you hadn't thought about before. Like, what is that? Is this kind of double speak that Super Earth does? Is this good? Is it a utopia? Like, these are the kind of questions we wanted people to ask, right? And that's why a satire is good. It's funny. It highlights these issues. It's all entertaining. That's why satire is our favorite form of humor. Same with Ledgerbound over here, right? It's so important to us that the stories that we tell in games mean something. There's a lot of games out there that's just like, it's a money grab, it's gambling pretty much with a game wrapper. Like, that's all fine and well, to each their own, but like, I'm making something that matters. Like, and I want this to change people. I want them, when they're done playing my game, they're a little bit different. They think about things a little different. They ask themselves some questions and maybe they didn't. And like, the fun is also very important. Like, I always talk about it this way. In my mind, there's 3 layers of what a game can do. The first layer is fun. It's entertaining. I love this. Like, it's escapism, I get to get in this fantasy world and get into it. And it's fun, That's what like books do for a lot of people. I'm really in this zone. It's so fun. It's interesting. The second layer is the social community layer, right? This is where my friends are doing. I talk about it with them. I hang out. We'll hang out in the game. Like, when I'm done with school, I hop on and there's a bunch of people. We all have this experience together, and it's this shared, like, camaraderie and interesting dynamic. And you learn different social skills even, and how to communicate with each other. And then the deep layer is, this changed me. I cried. Like, I never thought about it this way. Like, I didn't think that things could happen this way. That's a perspective I hadn't considered. And I want to have a game that I make on all those levels. They're all really important. And I think that the best games are the ones that do hit on all those levels, and we just don't realize that they are. That will be the games that we make for the rest of our lives. That's what keeps us going on it. That's why we do this for a living. That's why we work all these fucking hours with all this stress, with the, kind of feedback that we get and the funding situation. It's a lot, right? But I wouldn't do anything else with my life, not even for a minute. This is my absolute passion. It is my dream. And I'm so lucky and so blessed to be in this position and be able to do this for a living and show people like these stories and be able to, have this kind of outreach. Like, my life has gone through a lot of like twists and turns to kind of get to this position where I'm able to do this. And I'm just forever grateful. So I vow that I will make it all worth it. I will make it absolutely worth it so that everyone gets to enjoy the stuff that I make and that it really brings something to the world.
My God, that is the magic behind video games right there. I don't know what else to say to that, because I feel it every time I play the game. And to be honest, to have someone like you making video games is exactly what we need. So
Appreciate it,
Evan,
man.
thank you so much for sharing your story. Evan from Helldivers to everybody. Thank you so much for being here on the show. Main Quest. This has been just an absolute pleasure. So I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Don't go anywhere though, because we are going to be playing a little bit with Mr. Evan over here. So
I'm going to embarrass myself. We talked about that. We'll load out presets.
Was it hard to implement?
Nah, it's just, everything's a priority order, right?
That's fair.
It's just, that's the hardest thing about making games, right? It's like, if I had unlimited time, this would be the most fleshed out, awesome game ever, but time and money, and you just go in order of things that matter the most in the game. And, you kind of get to the end, you're like, well, does this really matter? The thing that you thought mattered more than anything itself a year ago is just like, actually, it's probably fun. And that's what happened at the end of this game, especially. We're just like, things that we thought were non-negotiable, were just, it doesn't even matter. Like, when you're looking at it, that lens is completely different. It took so much work to make a cohesive faction. Like,
completely different systems for every different faction and everything as well.
Yeah, and we really wanted to make them feel very distinct from one another.
Right.
The dodging and like constant like jumping from the from the bugs and stuff, was that like a thing during development?
Players, we'd always find little weird things like that, and we'd always be like, normal players probably won't do stuff like this. And it's like famous last words, like. Your players will always find out the weirdest things to do. Generally, we mostly wanted the armors to be mostly like aesthetic and like a fantasy driven thing. Like mild, like, you know, different benefits to help the fantasy. Like if you're the big, bulky, like, you know, armor guy, you should probably have a little bit of like buff to your armor, but that was mostly the goal. Like,
Point?
all right, bro, you take point.
All right,
You
let's
take
do
point.
this. All right, I'm just gonna go straight for the objective because why not? I do appreciate
tried
that
everything else.
you all included such a good gun as like the first gun. This gun hits heavy.
I haven't played this game in so long, it feels
Machine
so
gun
foreign.
definitely still slaps.
Always a machine gun. OG. Never.
Do you remember the meta, Evan? Do you remember that? Like when I think at launch the meta was like breaker shotgun,
Yep.
shield backpack,
Yep.
And railgun.
and railgun. That's true.
That was one of the things we were worried about for a while. Was, is this going to be overpowered? Okay, here we
It
go.
was.
That's part of the fantasy.
It is part of the fantasy. It is.
This is definitely a thing where it's like we just need to put like little like quips all over the world, like, you know, funny sign, things like that like really speak to the universe. That was a lot of the stuff that kind of came in late. Was like we need this to still feel like the comedy and satire of like the Super Earth universe, and we try to do that a lot through like posters and things like that. Let's get
The
up.
thought from day one, like, hey, we're gonna build this on Stingray, which was, I think, the same engine as the first one.
Yeah,
Or
that's
was there ever
good.
any consideration for any other engines?
Like when the game started, that was before my time. Like they're like, hell yeah, Stingray. It was just bought by Autodesk. They're gonna support the hell out of it. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna get this new kind of cutting edge thing. They're gonna be able to communicate with us. And then a year in, they're like, we're not supporting this anymore. We're done with the engine. And no, you can't buy it. No, you can't have any of the stuff that you want. Like we just want to keep it. And we're like, okay, maybe we'll just, you know, kind of mod it ourselves. And it became a very, very heavily modified version
What's the terminal?
of the Bit Squid Stingray engine that we did ourselves. But there were definitely times where we're like, is this engine gonna hold up for this game? Like, can it handle it? Do we need to switch? Like, those were scary conversations because
Was that something that you guys
Yeah.
modified, or was that just a standard part of the
yeah.
engine?
I mean, we modified most things. Like the physics engine is just one part of it, but like mostly the engine problem was just the speed of development, like how we can actually implement things into the game, and that's why this was the biggest problem.
Look at that.
Let's go.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
I don't think I did anything. Teamwork for sure.
For democracy, sir.
Yes.
The bugs, is there like a particular bug that you like the most?
You know, I thought the stalkers were really fun. Like, and it was always kind of our goal of like, they should feel scary. You should have jump scares. Like,
They
oh my
feel
God, a stalker.
You know what? One of the things I love about this particular mission, I love seeing the missile launch and then explode in the distance.
Yeah.
One of the
That was one of the first objectives that we worked on in this game, and it was the one that we were 100% sure we need this. Like,
That mushroom cloud is peak.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just love the
That's
like
what got me.
you feel like that.
100%.
Yeah.
And I see again, like mentioning this, I love seeing the ship above. Like I love seeing that. Like
Yeah,
that is
have
so
that
cool.
connection, man.
I-
For most of development, we had like pretty much just one VFX artist, and he was cooking. He was an incredible, talented VFX artist, and he was the one that kind of made this whole like VFX direction with these like very like, you know, like smoky, like, you know, kind of cinematic style like explosions. I mean, you know, we were the ones directing him to do that, but he could create it pretty accurately on what we wanted.
Also, like just the different kinds of weapons, like the arc thrower. I never would have thought to just like make like a
Oh crap.
Tesla
Electricity beam.
cannon.
boom. Was it always decided to not have jumps?
No. We went back and forth on that all the time. And I was a huge proprietor of, let's get rid of the fucking jumps. It looks ridiculous. Like, they were just jumping around all the time.
Just
There's
little
also,
hops?
like, there was a really bad problem, like, even early on development of, like, there's not enough buttons on this controller for all the things you want to do.
When you were in development, is this more or less how like the Q&A would go a little bit? Like you would sit down here with probably like 3 other people and just kind of comment to yourselves?
Yeah, all the time. Mostly it was complaining. Like, it's like, why is it like this? This fucking stalker over here. It's like, why is it stuck? Why is it stuck? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why is this happening? Like, then you like, you know, detach the cam, go to debug cam, go find the spawner and be like, what is it doing? Like, why is it behaving this way?
Like, did you guys think it was going to elicit the reaction that it ultimately got when
You know,
on launch?
I had really high expectations. It felt like the only people in the world sometimes that knew this game was going to be awesome was me and Johan. Like we'd sit there and be like, this game's gonna be awesome, and we'd have to like, even Sony would lose face sometimes. They'd be like, I don't know, this game's been developed for so long. Games that are in development for this long tend to not do well. Like, we're just like, no, I think this is gonna be fucking huge. Because we could see it. Like when we were playing the game, we're like, this is so cool and it's so emergent and it's so different compared to a lot of games like this. Like, we just need to get it out and we need to like keep this consistent. If we can pull that off, then we really have something special. Even then, I think it exceeded our expectations a little bit. Very, very validating to see it all happen that way and being like, I fucking knew it the whole time. Like,
Eddie usually drags me around the map.
Hey, I want 100% completion. 100% completion.
And then all of a sudden we're out of time.
You know, I mean this respectfully. I'm sorry that I'm a very capable player.
sounds like someone
Forgot
else
the
needs
word
to
in.
get good. We even do that on Ledgerbound. You know, it's a tactical RPG. We'll have like people be like, I don't know, it's supposed to be like this. It felt like this was really difficult level. We're like, yeah. Interesting that you think that.
Let's just drop this because I want to see it from the sky. I want to see this right here.
You know, Eddie, like you asked me like how hard that was to do. It's like some things like that were just like really easy, and then sometimes the seemingly most simple things were so difficult because of the engine. Like we were like, what? It's gonna take 4 days to do that? As a producer, I was like, you just don't understand what we want. It's like a very simple thing. You're like, no, the engine is just kind of bullshit when it comes to this stuff.
Which was the stratagem that took the longest? Ooh, my bad. Was there a stratagem that took...
Things like the arc thrower, like you know, where you needed to like really figure out how it was gonna pass stuff, and you know, the right kind of like how much charge should it have. Nice. It would be a shame if someone were to team kill right now.
That's a good way
I
to
wouldn't
do it.
dare. I wouldn't dare.
You're not making it home today.
Let's go.
Oh, here we go. This time we got
But I think that the hug emote was just kind of like made on the side, like randomly by a dev. And then we were just like, okay, this is too good. Like, that stuff would happen all the time. They're like, hey, while I was implementing this, I made this thing. And everyone's like, wait, but it's great. Like, what if we just put it in the game?
Hey, you gained a level.
Let's go.
By the time we're done with this podcast, all of our guests are going to just level you up.
So that's why you wanted me to use your account, huh?
Just use this account.
Oh, and I love the way that each round ends and you just like show up on the ship and everyone's just like,
Yeah. We did a lot of iteration on like the feeling of victory and like how we should do it, where you come from. Like the original iteration on the ship here was you flew in all the way on the back. And then you had to walk all the way from the back, like all the way front. And everyone kept being like, I think these distances are too long. Like if you just keep dying, like this like same trip over and over again. We kept making it smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, this has been Main Quest episode 1 with Evan Nickel. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
No, I appreciate it, guys. You guys are cool as hell. I'm looking forward to seeing how this podcast does. Really, really cool.
Same. We have high hopes. And then what was your game again? Let's go ahead and give it lots.
Ledgerbound. You guys have Russ on later this week. He'll do a much better job talking about it. He's our game director.
Oh, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching and stay tuned for the next episode.